Here we go. It is the Irish Times this morning. McGrath cherishes the good and bad days with Tip. So this is the Noel McGrath interviews coming out from the press night the other night. Murphy, jack of all trades and master of one. This feature of Owen Murphy, who it seems is definitely the consensus number one goalkeeper in the country at the moment. And then the other one, big story from them today, is the column that comes from Kevin McStay. No hiding from Mayo's many mistakes. I wonder will Kevin McStay ever get the opportunity to manage Mayo at this stage? Do you think that's done?
Yeah, I think so, isn't it? McStay's probably enjoying the kind of time away from management as well. I guess when you could come from a place where you're doing really, really well with Roscommon, and then you're kind of put into perspective that the next step for Roscommon is like winning in All-Ireland. It's kind of a demoralising situation, given what we saw at the weekend. It's such an impossible next step. And, you know, maybe winning Connacht titles and all that is something that they should be aiming for, and that should be like the zenith of their year every single year. And that should keep people like Kevin McStay involved in football. But for him, as a manager, the next step is contending for an All-Ireland, isn't it? Hard to know how that happens.
Yeah. And also, the end of Roscommon seemed to be fairly significant in that a bunch of their best players didn't play for them. Like, there seemed to be a kind of disconnect between his style and the modern footballer. So you can't be surely injecting that back into a dressing room, can you?
Yeah, like it's different, isn't it? Like Cunningham obviously managed to come through with a fairly different squad to what McStay left behind this year in terms of people coming back into the fold, and obviously had a brilliant year. So I don't know, like McStay obviously thinks about football in a very forward way. Like, is there perhaps a Rochford-esque role for him with some county even? Like, is he somebody that would kind of prefer the backroom role, the coach, the selector, whatever it may be? Is there something in...
Doesn't seem like a backroom kind of guy, though, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Stephen O'Brien, he says, definitely going to be playing, pardon me, one technical issue hovers over this final. There's no question, but Stephen O'Brien's black card against Meath will be rescinded and he'll be available to play. Most people never read the body collision rule fully. To deliberately collide with an opponent after he's played the ball away, and the other one is taking out the opponent for the purpose of taking him out of the movement to play. And he says that there's no movement in this instance, so O'Brien will be cleared on that technicality. But what needs to happen is that the GA should clarify this by tomorrow of this week, and that both counties settle into the build-up of what truly is an All-Ireland final for the ages, which is a fair point, rather than wait until the last minute.
Back page of the Irish Daily Star is Alison Paynes, number one, ruled out for over a month. It's a big blow for Liverpool fans over the last 24 hours, hearing that it's going to be a bit of a lengthy absence for the goalkeeper. Pogba in hint at Red's exit. Meanwhile, that's Jeremy Cross's story. Gavin backs O'Brien appeal. Kind of backs it. He says that he doesn't like to see anybody get banned for an All-Ireland final. And Muggsy hits out at Sean. Owen Mulligan has blasted Sean Kavanagh as the war of words continues over Mickey Hart's future as Tyrone boss.
Yeah, this was very strong stuff from Owen Mulligan in his Paddy Power column. He was saying that Sean Kavanagh must have forgotten his notes when he was doing the Sunday game, because Kavanagh was asked about Mickey Hart's contribution, and he said something in the past tense. I can't even remember what it was. It was like, he's been a great servant to Tyrone. And that was all he said. Muggsy was like, well, you know, he will continue to be a great servant for the next 12 months, and at that point he'll be allowed to make his own exit on his own terms.
Yeah, see, what's the difference in 12 months? I don't know. I'm going through the GA pages here. No mention of massive story David Goff anywhere.
Because it's only happened.
Apology accepted.
It only happened. You said, okay, so it's not going to be mentioned for the rest of the week then?
Well, it's not mentioned in the newspaper today, this massive story.
Bringing the front page of the Irish Examiner this morning, that's David Goff's head in the masthead. Eoin Fitzmaurice, why David Goff shouldn't referee a Dublin Kerry final. Is this not the newspapers this morning? Oh, it is. Look, it's just started. And then there's also a picture of Brian Cody, the art of management. Why honesty in application means so much to Brian Cody, and it's obviously a picture of Cody at this week's press night in Langton's. And to just bring you some of the stuff from inside. There's the piece there, written by Tony Lean. He did our first Super 8 game against Dublin. You can always have a whinge. Dublin got a goal. It was 30 seconds over the allotted first half injury time, but we didn't defend it properly. This is Ronan McCarthy, the Cork manager, saying that David Goff should be the manager in the All-Ireland final. He's a top referee. You pick your top refs for a game of this stature, and I feel he should be in the mix for it. But Mike Quirk said if there was a Cork referee living and working in Kerry, he wouldn't get an All-Ireland final involving Kerry, and I think that probably knocks it on the head for David. So we'll see.
It is the only newspaper, I think, carrying it this morning. from their own podcast. It's not in the Irish Independent this morning. That leads with helpless Cody pays down influence on Katz's glory bid. Apology accepted, it's okay. Jack McCaffrey with a young child at Dublin, in fairness, trigger finger as soon as they reach the All-Ireland final, media day on a Monday. It's pretty quick going, isn't it? To get things turned around. They got all their business done last night. Kerry's time is right now, it's not next year, insists Gavin. That's from the same media event. And Carbery set to be fit for opener is the headline of Murray O'Connor's piece. This is probably the big story on the back page of the Irish Independent this morning. So he looks set to miss Ireland's remaining warm-up games, but he is expected to be fit in time for the opening World Cup game against Scotland on September the 22nd. So this is good news, right? This could have been a lot worse.
Which bit, sorry?
Joey Carbery being...
Oh, yeah, the fact that he's back. I mean, that's kind of the main story of the day, to be honest, is that Joey Carbery will be fit for the first... Now, how fit's he going to be? How long will it take him to get back up to match fitness?
Well, what you've got to bank on now is Johnny Sexton being fully fit for the first two games of the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah,
because obviously you've got a bit of downtime, hopefully, after those first two games, and that you're kind of working your way back in. Your third choice out half can start at the Samoa and Russia games potentially. Even then, it's kind of like
probably need to give game time to Carbery at that point, don't you? Because if he's not going to get fit, then yeah. Well, look, we get the full details of this from Cian Tracy just after 8:05. Gregor Paul is going to join us on Skype from Down Under as well at that stage to talk about their defeat at the weekend. Next for me, it's the Irish Daily Mail. O'Brien hope both Kerry and Gavin want to see Ace in final. Jim Gavin fully expects that his Dublin side will face Kerry's Stephen O'Brien in the All-Ireland football final. The boss even hopes his rivals forward doesn't miss out on September 1st. Jack has his hands full at the same picture, Jack McCaffrey and McCarthy to recall namesake for Swiss tie. So Mick McCarthy is set to recall James McCarthy to the Irish squad for the massive Euro 2020 qualifier against Switzerland on the 5th of September. The Irish manager sat beside Roy Hodgson at Sellers Park yesterday as McCarthy played for the Crystal Palace under-23s against Birmingham, which is a great sign. And McCarthy signed for Palace last week in his $3 million deal, came through the 90 minutes unscathed. So hopefully he'll be back playing Premier League football sooner rather than later.
The back page of The Sun is, they think it's all Slova, but we don't. Vows Vinnie Perth. Final hope for O'Brien, meanwhile, that's a story on Stephen O'Brien. It's no more hassle for Manchester United then. Real Madrid will end their pursuit of Manchester United's Paul Pogba if they land Neymar. We will have Graham Hunter on the show a little bit later on to talk about this, and it seems that Lionel Messi himself is going to get involved in the Neymar deal to ensure that he comes back to the Camp Nou. And Zaha faced the sack. Not literally, this is Mamadou Sakho, who took matters into his own hands last Friday, and unbeknownst to manager Roy Hodgson, called a team meeting and said that Wilfried Zaha needs to get his act together and put back on the Crystal Palace jersey and be proud to play for his club. And it seems that that's what's going to happen. To be fair, if Mamadou Sakho tells you to do something, probably do it.
Are we? So that was after the transfer window had closed.
Yes.
I mean, a bit late, really, wasn't it? Teo axed for World Cup after bust-up. So this is a great story coming from the England camp. Ben Teo was yesterday left out of the England squad for the Rugby World Cup in Japan a week after the British and Irish Lions centre was omitted from training following an altercation with Mike Brown on a team night out. Ben Teo, how much did he play for the Lions? Did he play in any of the tests? Was he a test? I can't remember. Was he? Anyway. No. I mean, I still remember Ben Teo in his Ireland jersey. So happy that he was back in the time to, be about to... Anyway. Brown, as expected, was also not included in Eddie Jones' 31-man squad, which starts on September the 20th, but Teo had looked highly likely to make the cut until recent days. So this is, not exactly what I had expected from Eddie Jones. He seemed to be rootin' tootin', they all go out, they have a good time, boys will be boys type manager up to this point. And now all of a sudden it's like, he's a strict disciplinarian.
Oh, Eddie Jones is a strict disciplinarian when it comes to the World Cup. I think if this happens before Six Nations, does he do that? I think this is like everything he's been working towards will come to fruition now over the next 2-3 months. This is what it is all about. It is strange though to still see risks taken, or certainly when it comes to uncapped players or player, when it comes to McConaughey being included in a World Cup squad. So there is a bit of a stretch there from Eddie Jones. Also pretty quick to do it, isn't he? Like there was no pressure in terms of announcing a Rugby World Cup squad, but maybe he feels that they need just a bit of time to gel together or something like that.
Yeah.
So big call, but perhaps if there is kind of rumours of discontent or whatever it may be, then just nipping that in the bud and not having that becoming an issue in Japan is probably important.
Yeah, fair enough. Although, if Mike Brown wasn't going, then who was going to stir things up? Also, brave man Mike Brown taking on Ben Teo in a fight, right?
Like, he has no chance. Must have had backup.
I don't think he's a chance, but maybe Mike Brown thinks he's a chance.
To be fair, Mike Brown probably thinks Mike Brown has a chance in everything.
VAR offsides under review. So this is interesting, right? They're not going to stop using VAR, but football's lawmakers have reviewed the VAR system's approach to offsides to see whether the rules should be changed so that video officials intervene only when there is a clear error. This is going to be an interesting kink, and it's not a bad idea at all. It's understood that the International Football Board will study the protocols of VARs and offsides, and it will be debated by its members over the next few months. If any decision is taken to change it, it's likely it will change it next March. So VAR offsides will only be beeped into the referee when there's a bit of mistake, which is kind of how it should be, as opposed to stopping going, was there?
Back page of the Herald is Jim Gavin saying Kerry's time is now. They're not a coming team, they're already here. And Alisson ruled out for a few weeks. That's Damien Spellman writing about Liverpool's injury worry.
Got the Daily Mirror for you. Pogba, I could still leave. Despite bright start, Reds admits his future's uncertain and only time will tell where he ends up, but Ince insists his heart is not at United. I mean, Paul Ince, rent a quote at this stage. Let's move Heaven and Perth to be next heroes of Dundalk, Vinnie Perth's story. And now Ozil beefs up security with dogs. Mesut Ozil has stepped up his 24-hour security by having dog patrols outside his house. The dogs will work with his normal security after several frightening incidents caused the Arsenal star to miss the club's opening match. Bizarre stories surrounding Mesut Ozil at the moment.
Daily Telegraph this morning leads with Eddie Jones. He takes his big gamble. Theo axed after Brown bust up. Rookie scrum half Hines selected and uncapped McConaughey in the squad. You've also got this story here. Fill your boots. Sterling offered record £100 million sponsorship. It's an exclusive from Sam Wallace talking about Air Jordan, who of course moved into the football market a year ago with the branding of Paris Saint-Germain and their football kits. They look set to offer Raheem Sterling a £100 million deal with Air Jordan, and this immediately puts him right up into the ranks with Neymar, Messi and Ronaldo in terms of Europe's most marketable stars. And everything that came with last year in terms of him talking about the portrayal of young black footballers in the media, of course it was never his intention to gain more notoriety from this. It's been absolutely fantastic what he's done, but it has created a profile for Raheem Sterling on a very different level. And when Nike got behind him on that, it kind of played into their backing of Colin Kaepernick, and he's just turned, I know is he on the cover of FIFA, or maybe Virgil van Dijk is, but certainly he's in links with EA as well. It's not just lucrative for him. I think it just shows what a marketable star Raheem Sterling is.
Yeah, and also helps when you start off with a hat-trick.
Well, I was about to say, if you're looking at, I'm not sure what you're Googling there, if you're Googling PFA Player of the Year odds,
no,
I would like
20,
to...
it looks like Eden Hazard to me.
Is it Hazard? Probably different editions. Hazard probably deserves to be there, but so good news for
there's another one for Van Dijk, all right, yeah.
The Guardian this morning leads with Murray holds course. Former world number one makes his singles return in Cincinnati, and World Cup worry. Jones admits discipline fears after Theo axed over altercation. And then finally for me, the Racing Post. New festival mayors chase for the greater good. One race to be axed in 2021 and 4-miler reduced in distance next season as Cheltenham Rings changes. And the back page is enjoy the spectacle. Salford and Leeds to put on a show in cup confrontation. It's the EFL Cup first round tonight. It's the big one. Salford against Leeds.
After the opening weekend, Raheem Sterling 5-1, Kevin De Bruyne 7-1, Salah 9-1, Harry Kane 14, and then after that we've got the Irish news for you next. Tyrone will get over the line eventually, insists Morgan. Interesting stuff from Morgan post-match, in that he says that there should also be a specific clock put on for free takers. Tommy Walsh got booked. I didn't see what he got booked for, but actually he got booked for pushing Morgan in the chest when Morgan was running up to take a free. I don't know I can't remember if Morgan scored that one or not, but
he did, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of just a waste of time for everybody, right? And I don't know, the intimidation didn't work in this instance. It might work in some others, but either there should be a clock and you should have to take it in that time. There should be a clock on goalkeepers' kickouts as well, shouldn't there?
Yeah, because do you bring in the buzzer system, or the hooter system I should say, and just stop clocks at dead balls or kickouts on certain occasions? The frees I'm not sure. I presume it wasn't an actual reaction to Morgan in the first half, and Morgan tends to take a long time to come up and actually strike the freeze when he comes up to do them. So perhaps that's what Walsh was reacting to. It's like, you're not taking your time now sort of thing, when they were, I think, trailing at that point. So
I think he was also just laying down a marker, right?
Maybe, yeah. He got it was a worthwhile yellow card, but I think there's definitely truth in what Morgan is saying. The clocks need to be looked at, and it's also another thing that the referee has control of at the moment, and it's another thing that the referee is keeping an eye on at the moment, which just adds to their workload.
All right, it's 2 minutes past 8. We're talking rugby next here on OTB AM. We're checking in with Gregor Paul in New Zealand in a few moments.